via vita in morte suos, quem querimus adiutorem, licite Domine, qui pro peccatis nostris, Dios te ira Salvator, amare morti netradas nos.
God, as a psychoactive idea, is profound because it is an identity of death. Man is dissolved in the image of God. Unity with the all sublimates the one. Non-duality, as another kind of psychoactive idea, has similar effects. The burden of life endows humans with the drive to preserve themselves. The idea of God, as an identity of death, releases humans from their great burden because it psychoactively functions as an indestructible store of life, similar to children, but transcendental, and thus imperishable. No longer must man worry for his survival. His persistence in God guarantees unconditional survival. What could be more alluring to life than an idea that promises more than life could ever hope to achieve by following its ordinary course of survival in the material world? A fundamental spiritual principle. Humans cannot look upon death directly. If we do, we die. However, we may indirectly look upon death. There are as many ways of obliquely looking upon death as there are ways of life. Such ways of seeing the unseeable may be called identities of death or identities of life. Every indirect means of looking upon death exhibits a kind of numinosity. Man can sense that something lurks behind the identity, but he cannot sense what it is because it is death, the archetype of the unseen. It's like looking at a blank canvas and feeling like something very important is there. We are pulled in by the gravity of the unseen, but see nothing of what attracts us. The paradox of something and nothing being somehow present signals an error in one's model of the world and leaves one feeling like the thing belongs to another world. Life is attracted to that which helps it avoid death. Such aids are real to life, and everything else is a shadow. Life can never become conscious of the nature of its attractions because its opposite, that which it cannot bear to see, is central to its desires. Life extinguishes itself by coming into itself, because there, in the ground of life, is death. Life is not opposed to death. Life is death. Life cannot bear seeing itself as the embodiment of its opposite. This denial of life produces what is known as life. God is an identity of death because it shares essential characteristics with the image of death, that is, dissolution of the individual and so on. Man can look upon the idea of God because it conflates everlasting life with death. The image of God is a union of life and death in which life is victorious. Imagine poor life, forever toiling to avoid death, and then in the desert of this world it encounters an idea that harmoniously unites life and death. Like magic, all problems seem to be solved in an instant. Life may now rest because its internal contradictions have been resolved in the image of God. Can there be a greater succor? When we are attracted to God, where is death? We feel the great relief of being dissolved in a higher power, which we feel as God's love. And this is an effect of the knowledge of death. But where is death? In God's love, death becomes rebirth. Death in God is rebirth. Identities of death interpret death as life. That is, they unify the essential opposites. Life may only enter death when it becomes a part of life, for life can only enter into its own. Death was once forbidden territory, but now that death has become life, death is an extension of life. When one experiences this extension of life into death, one feels the claustrophobia of life, which is the unresolved opposites, dissolve, and a whole new dimension of existence is unveiled. This experience is often interpreted as enlightenment. God is an interface to the knowledge of death. Through him, we may see what life hides from us. What is death? As we live, we cannot know. The infinitesimal moment of death, the point upon which life unites with death, is the only conceivable state in which death may truly be known by life. What we presume to be death is a false image. Can a young person know love by reading romance novels? Can the moon be seen by reading about it? The funeral, a corpse, these images are external to death. The living, not the dead, look upon the dead. These external trappings of death, or the event of death, do not represent death in itself. When they are used to construct an image of death, they produce a false image of death. Saying that death is in a corpse is just as absurd as saying that love is in a rose. Life cannot look upon the true image of death because the interiority of death is beyond life. We know love by loving. We know death by dying. Looking upon symbols of love, be they words in a book or couples kissing, does not invoke the forces elicited by participating in love. Life is active when we participate in love. It tries to avoid death in love. Thus, love is also an identity of death. To know death, we must experience death. Life must be active in death. Death is not a product of logic. It is a symbol. A thing that points to something else, that is a symbol, is not the thing it points to. The symbol of death is a common possession, but the identity of death, as experienced by individuals, is a diverse spectrum. The death of our childhood does not point to the death of our adulthood. That is, the identity of death changes according to the nature and degree of our approach to it. It is difficult to comprehend that we don't understand or have a true image of something we have named. Death. The word makes us feel like we have power over it. Knowing the name of our master does not make us a master. Death remains unseen and is the form of what is unseeable, the archetype of the unseen. And the true philosophers, and they only, study and are eager to release the soul, is not the separation and release of the soul from the body, which is called death, their special study?